Check. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Haushenka from Roasted Quail or False Chord. I spent the last couple hours trying to repair my World of Warcraft installation because for whatever reason my launcher will not update. So I was not making that video or this video at that time, but now that it's kind of fixed and playable again, we're going to make this video. I had originally intended to do it earlier, but you know, stuff happens. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on, and I've actually kind of written out sort of a script for this video, not anything too serious, but we had a raid the other night, and you know, I started thinking, and as a player, when you know, you're looking for a progression and you're looking for a guild, you know, and as a guild, when you're looking for players to fill your roster with, there are certain questions that you need to ask yourself. From a player's standpoint, you should be asking, is this the guild for me? What do I want from playing the game? And what will I spend most of my time doing? Now let's go into a couple very broad couple very broad things here. What makes a good guild, or what makes a guild good? What makes a player good? The amount of DPS that you can do does not make you a good player. The amount of heroic or mythic bosses that your guild has downed does not make your guild a good guild. These are often misconceptions from people who are in very progressive guilds, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good guild. That just means that the raiding team has progressed to that point, and they, for the most part, know what they are doing. That does not ensure that they are a good guild, and it also doesn't ensure that that guild is a good fit for you as a player, or that you as a player are a good fit for that guild. Most oftentimes what you will see in these higher progressed guilds is that they only want one person. They're looking for a tank or a healer or a certain type of DPS, and if you don't fall into that category, they might let you join the guild, but you certainly probably won't be raiding with their core team, and they probably are gonna bench you until they have, you know, another group that you can possibly go with, and who knows when that's gonna be. You know, that's all up to their officers and so on and so forth. So here's a couple things that we're gonna talk about. You know, let's start off with the player point of view of, is this a good guild for me? When you look at joining a guild, you obviously are going to look at joining a guild that does, you know, what you're interested in doing as a player. If that's raiding, then you'll look for a raiding guild. If you like role-playing, then you'll look for a role-playing guild. If you like PvP, you'll look for a PvP guild. If you like more than one of those aspects, then you'll look for a guild that does both or all. So the question comes in is this a good guild for me? And what you have to look at is the guild willing to help you. Are they willing to help you get your gear? Can they at least get you on a rotation of possible raiders, possible PvPers, you know, so on and so forth? Are the people nice? Or do you often find yourself alone when you're playing the game? If you find yourself alone a majority of the time that you're playing at the times that you can play, chances are that is not a very good fit for you, because they're not going to build a team around the time that you are playing. So you may want to look elsewhere. Now, from a guild perspective, when they recruit for their raid teams or they accept people into the guild, they're looking for, you know, or looking at the question of, is this player good for the guild? You know, can they show up on time? Can they be prepared? Are they going to help out? You know, or are they going to be flaky? Are they going to argue about loot? So on and so forth. The latter, obviously, which means that if they're going to fight over loot, if they're going to be persnickety and they're not going to show up on time, they're not going to be prepared, then chances are they're not a very good fit for your guild. Now, since this was spurred by the events of this, recent raiding endeavor, let's look at a few things, okay? And the reason that I decided to make this video is I have been on both sides of the spectrum. I have been a raid member without being a leader or without being a guild master. I have been a guild master and I have been a raid leader, responsible for putting teams together and so on and so forth. So on the administration side of the guild and the raid leader, one of the first questions that often comes to my mind isn't, oh, well, how am I going to put the team together? It's, how am I going to deal with the raids and the members that are in the raid? You have to decide upon this because this is going to govern what happens in situations that arise within a raid. If you decide that you need people to be punctual, that you need to be on time, that people need to be there on time, if people keep showing up late, and I've been guilty of this, usually it's only been a couple of minutes, I'm usually at home, I'm upstairs using the restroom, and I gotta run down to my PC, or whatever the case may be, but within a couple, within a minute or two, 5 at the absolute most, can you deal with people that are going to be inherently late? Can you deal with people showing up 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes into the raid? If so, okay, then you'll wait for those people. If not, then you need to make the members of your raid team the people that will be there and available online at the time. Thankfully, it doesn't take very long to get to the raids in the game now. HSC is a quick dash through to none, and you're good to go. So, the travel time really isn't that bad, without a summon anyway. The other thing that you need to decide is, when you take people into a raid, do you want them prepared, or do you mind if they are at the bare bones? If you want them to be prepared for all of you players, for all of you core raiders, or for all of you raid members. Prepared means that you have your food, you have your flasks, you have your gems, you have your enchants, you have all of your re-rolling done if that's what the X-Pack allows for. You don't show up without having any of that ready. You have your selected talents that you're going to be using. You have the material you need to switch talents mid-dungeon if need be. You have all of that stuff readily available to you, so you can use it at any time, or you can provide a fellow raid member should they run out, or should there be a mishap, they accidentally delete it, something like that. The other thing that you have to look at is, how much are you willing to bend when it comes to fights and mechanics? Progression isn't obtained by letting wipe after wipe after wipe after wipe happen. Wipes happen for a number of reasons. Some of these reasons are the mechanics are not being followed. People take too much damage, people aren't doing enough damage, maybe a tank DCs, something like that. Now, disconnections and lag outs and all that buggy stuff, that happens. There's nothing you can do about it. It just happens. Those are forgivable. Now, the first couple of times, okay, say it's a raid that you don't know so well, or that you have members that are going to it or attending that they don't know some of the mechanics in the fights. You explain it the best you can. They get a couple of go-arounds to kind of see how it works. After that point, when you explain it the last time, that player needs to be responsible for doing those things in the raid. They need to be independently, inherently responsible for following the mechanics of the raid. And the mechanics of the raid are different for different roles. If you're a healer, the nature of the mechanic will change a little bit as it would be versus a DPS or a tank. If you have people that for whatever reason cannot follow the mechanics of a fight, and I'm not saying this next part to be mean, I am saying it because it is the truth. One person that does not obey the mechanics taxes the entire raid group. So if you are not following mechanics and you are dying, you are a burden on the raid group. And I'm not saying it to be mean, but that's the truth. Say you're a DPS, say you stand and fire a little too long, and you die. Your DPS is no longer helping the group. All of the other DPS have to make up for your fallout now. Say there's a healer that's trying to heal you, but you keep standing in bad. You're wasting their mana. Those are heals that could go to other raid members. Those are heals that could go to the tanks. And if you're simply not doing the DPS that you are capable of because you don't know your rotation, something in your class is messed up, there's a talent that you forgot to change or that you didn't know you needed, you have the option to get with somebody who knows all of those things and it can explain it to you and help you out. But if you continuously show up and you continuously not pull the weight that your role is meant to pull, you are a burden on the raid group. You are essentially wasting the time of 15 to 25 other people, 24 other people. Now, I'm not doing this to say, oh, well, if you cause a wipe, then you should consider yourself bad. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying the first couple are freebies. Everybody knows that. Everybody needs a couple, 2-3 times to learn it and get it down. After that, through reading, watching the videos, having it explained to you, and then doing the fight, if you don't know how to do it after that, there is a problem. And you need to reevaluate what you're doing before the raid leader reevaluates your position in the raid. Now, I understand that at some times PCs can cause issues. There's lag. There's two types of lag. There is latency and there is video lag. If you are having video lag, turn your settings down. If your computer at that point is still incapable of handling the fight, excuse yourself from the raid, because at that point you are no longer lending anything to the fight. If you cannot cope with the fight because your computer cannot handle it, it's just an extra person adding to the HP pool, and it doesn't really amount to much. Now, a couple of things on this. It's not your fault. Like, a lot of people have really good PCs. Some people have okay PCs. Some people have utterly, completely terrible PCs. It's understandable if you don't have the money to put out on a new PC. Computers are expensive. That's not your fault. But at the same time, it's not the raid's fault either. It's not your fault and it's not their fault, but it is your responsibility. With those things in mind, I wanted to touch on a couple of things with the heroic HFC the other evening. This isn't a call out. This is just merely observations. This is heroic content. We are all doing much more damage than we were before the class changes. I understand that it unbalances things and it makes it a little weird, but from a first person point of view, even without the legendary or the artifact weapon, it has made my class easier to play. I have no problems whatsoever playing it. I still do a crap ton of damage. I'm not as mobile as I once was, but you kind of have to roll with the punches and deal with it as it comes. There have been nerfs. There was a discussion as to whether the dot on Sakrathar was nerfed or not. We don't really know. It didn't feel like it. But yeah, this is now considered old content. I won't say obsolete because it's not yet, and it probably won't be until middle of Legion. But it is definitely old. It is something that has been done to death, and I'm only making this video because I took a break a few months back from raiding. I was getting tired of Warlords of Draenor. I was getting tired of seeing the halls of HFC. I was bored, so I decided that I was going to step back and take a break. I had a lot of stuff going on. Now, I came back, and I'm seeing a lot of the same things that I saw before. Now, hopefully we can, figure this out before it's time to raid in Legion, because I can promise you a lot of people that had the chance to play either the alpha or the beta or the test or anything like that got a glimpse of what Legion is going to be, what was happening isn't going to cut it. So there are people available to help you. There are things that you can do and learn. There are videos all over the place. I will be making videos and guides. There are people that know the classes very well. Get a hold of them. Ask your questions. Get the help that you need. Get the assistance. So on and so forth. But yeah, I just wanted to make this and, point out a couple of those things in many, many different aspects. When you're running a guild, you have to decide whether you want progression or whether you want to be the nice guy. And I'm not saying that progression means that you have to be mean. That's not the case at all. But you do have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to be stalemated. As a player, you have to decide, is progression something that I want? Can I be ready for that? Can I give it my all? Can I give this guild what they need in a core raider? Am I going to do the damage I need to? Am I going to tank how I need to? Am I going to heal how I need to? Can I meet that requirement? These are all things that you have to consider. Everybody has to make their own decisions. That's really all I can say. I hope some of these questions that I pointed out to you guys have illuminated some things that maybe you didn't think of before, or maybe that you hadn't decided on as either an officer, a raid leader, a guild master, or a raid member, or a player, that you haven't decided upon before. Food for thought, guys. Food for thought. I love this game. I will do everything in my power to help. But you have to make decisions. It's not just well, hey, we're going to show up for the Emerald Nightmare. Yeah, hey, let's go do this over here. It requires planning. It requires dedication. It requires people's time. So keep all those things in mind. I hope that Legion is as good as we all hope it can be, or hope that it will be. Have fun and choose wisely. Choose what's best for you. Take care, guys.